What is up, RotoGrinders? It's 4:45, so of course, it is Grinders Live. Why are we starting early today? We're starting early today because, well, baseball starts early today. 6:40, I believe, is the very first game we have as far as the back half. This is the second slate of two. Hopefully, y'all are sweating out something pretty juicy right now. And the early slate, me, not so much. Way too many Astros. I'm blaming that on Chop. It's definitely Chop's fault. 6:40 start time. We're taking you all the way up to lock. Crunch time, 6 o'clock. You got Kevin Roth coming in as well as SquirrelPatrol and Dave Potts. Cheeseisgood running it back from the crew earlier this morning. Did mention that Head Chopper is here. We're always excited to see Head Chopper. Chop, hello, welcome.
What's up, Dean? What's up? Early start, throwing my process off, but iron it out here as the show goes on, Dean. And don't let me forget, Dean, at the end of the show, before we go to the other people's. Don't let me forget. I have to give a plug for the NBA stuff coming up. So don't let me forget that, Dean.
I saw on the schedule yourself and Squirrel are doing a showdown slate tomorrow, right?
Dean, you're spoiling it. I was going to plug it at the end of the show. That was a teaser, man.
So you think people are going to be like, well, you know what? I'm going to jump out of the show, but hold on a second. Chop told me to stick around to the end.
I got to stick around to the end because the man said something's coming up, and you just totally spoil everything, Dean.
All right. Pretend you guys didn't hear that. Don't tell anybody. It's a big old secret that there may or may not be a showdown show tomorrow night for Boston and Dallas. But the star of this show, and Chop, two-time millionaire winner, we love having you on. But your old news today, because I did a double take looking at the schedule. I cannot believe it. The star of the Blitz and the Bat takes precedence for this show. It is the CEO of the Bat. It is Derek Carty. Derek, I was enthused to have you on, man. I was like, well, this has to be a mistake. No. And some would say, I wouldn't say it. This is like a downgrade. This is a demotion to hang with us here on Crunch Time, on Grinders Live, away from Crunch Time. Now you gotta log 115 minutes, Carty. I don't know if you're aware of this. So
this is like a marathon for me. So we're gonna see how this goes today, but I'm excited to be here.
Yeah. And I don't want to tease it. Like I want to do the same teaser that Chop did, but Carty did participate. He may have participated in building out our stack categories later on in the show, and you guys are gonna enjoy it. If you're thinking about going anywhere, don't go anywhere. It's gonna be a lot of fun. Do you want to say what's up to the chat? Kyle, hit that like button, do subscribe, turn on those notifications. Why do you turn on notifications? Well, one reason is you would be watching this show because typically we start at 5 o'clock. We're starting 4:45 because, early slate. Also want to mention, get in early on this because we do not want to make producer Steve's life miserable. It's Wheel Wednesday. We spin the wheel on Wednesday. We give away a week free of RG Premium. How do you get your name on that wheel? Well, you jump in the Discord channel, rotogrinders.com/Discord. Jump in the live stream chat channel. Producer Steve has a post. There's an avatar there. Just click the avatar. That means you're live. Your name's going to be on the board. You get yourself a chance to win 1 week free. Not just RG Premium for baseball, but all the sports: football, baseball, basketball, hockey, MMA, PGA, CSGO, WNBA, everything but NASCAR. NASCAR is a la carte. You got to hit up Stevie for such things. All right. Gator saying Chop is old news in chat. How dare that's Chop? You're going to sit there. That's outrageous. We shouldn't take that. Right?
You got to get some new bifocals, brother. That man says he says I'm never old news. Reading's tough for you UFC grads, but come on now, man.
Well, you gotta. We're too busy winning national championships here at UCF. We don't forget that reading is so important as well. But speaking of reading, Chop, how are we reading tonight's slates? Right, 9-gamer. We don't have to do a Coors. Coors was earlier. We might have I guess we have a Wrigley win game, at least according to Weather Edge. Vegas isn't really, really fully popping as far as the number, but that's also possibly in part because the White Sox are partaking, and sometimes they need more than a gust of wind to help them hit homers out of the ballpark. But I'm not sure if you're taking a peek at the old Weather Edge, but 176 previous games, similar weather. That is an awesome sample size. Good. I mean, it's good enough for Cardi, I believe. We'll talk about it in a second, but 176 games, 48% bump in home runs, 10 miles per hour. But right center field, 78 degrees, 26% bump in homers. In runs as well. So, yeah, it looks like a really, really good environment. for hitting baseballs tonight in Chicago and Wrigley. We know Wrigley's the ballpark that's affected most by wind. Chop, there's not the pitchers have kind of whittled down a little bit as the week has progressed, but I guess the Skenes, where everybody's looking at Skenes versus the best offense versus one of the best pitchers going forward, Skenes on this slate. Logan Gilbert, Dylan Cease. It kind of falls off pretty quickly after that. But Chop, I want your overview. What are we looking at as far as tonight's slate?
I don't know, Dean. I'm just winging it right now. I'll say this. Also, remind me during crunch time about the Wrigley wind. Okay, remind me that. Bookmark that, please.
I have to open up notes for you. How many things do I have to remind you of?
Things I need a reminder of later on, but I want to ask him about the Wrigley. Remember, we had a conversation about night wind compared to day wind at one point, but I got another question for him tonight. But
he's a friend in a secret chat.
I'm just winging it right now, Dean. I don't know. There's some good pitchers. I can wrap my head around a lot of these guys, and there's some pretty good hitting spots too. I don't know how it's going to play out with my roster, but I've been doing so this morning. Full disclosure, I really screwed up. I faded Chalk Pavetta, Cy Pavetta, and played Jordan Montgomery, who gave up like 6 runs in 2 innings. That's gonna cost me a cash right there. But my strategy has been going with the cheaper pitching. So, and it's been doing pretty well. So we'll see how that plays out tonight. Honestly, nobody's even over 10K, so I'm not even sure that really matters tonight. We'll see how it goes, but it's very, very, really top heavy. But then there's a few guys in that middle category I like a lot, and we'll talk about them as we get into it.
Just got a Rangers lineup by the way: Semien, Seager, Smith, Garcia, Lau, Langford, Heim, Jankowski, Tavares. We should be getting Josh Young back soon. I guess still a couple days away, I suppose. We got an ETA on Josh Young, Cardi. Do we know when he's coming back? I know you're in those season-long streets.
I'd have to look it up. I don't know. I do mostly National League season long, so AL guys I'm a little not as up on.
Fair enough. All right. Royals Guardians was just postponed. Okay. That we were big on Bobby Witt, I imagine.
No, I just had a bet. I had Brady Singer's strikeout under, which looked really good. And then with the rain concerns also, if there was a delay, that would have been great, but it is what it is.
Hey, shout out to you, by the way. Speaking of bets, you had a 7-1 yesterday. Was that Trevor Rogers? No,
yeah.
Was it Trevor Rogers? Is that who it was?
Yeah, it was Trevor Rogers. Books were treating Trevor Rogers like he was going to pitch 1 inning, and based on kind of what they've done historically in context, I put out a whole tweet. I expect him to go like 2 or 3 innings, which may not sound like a lot if you're not like a regular bettor, but that creates huge edge. He wound up going like 40 pitches and got 4 strikeouts instead of the 1.5 that the books were set at. So if you bet the 1.5, the 2.5, and the 3.5, like I put out at Scores and Odds, you made 11 to 1 on that.
That's pretty beautiful. Speaking of 11 to 1, by the way, shout out to producer Steve, who pre-show told us like live. I just said an 11 to 1 bet. He was betting on some dude getting plunked or walked, and it worked out for him. So congratulations to producer Steve, who's in a good mood. And again, keep him happy. Do not wait to the last second as far as jump in the Discord, get your name on that wheel, RotoGrinders.com/Discord, the live stream chat channel. Just go ahead and click the avatar. Your name will be up in that wheel. We're going to spin the wheel probably right before we do stacks. So we're probably going to be spinning it a little bit early. So I'm guessing give or take around like 5:15, 5:20 or so on the East Coast. All right, Cardi, give me the overview. Yeah, we lost Brady Singer. We lost Cleveland, whatever they're throwing out there. Kind of surprising. I don't think Roth had him like. I think it was flat.
He had it orange.
Not as being. Oh, is it orange? Okay.
Yeah, he said a PPD was possible.
There it is. Okay, yeah, I didn't click refresh. He upped it. Yeah, for what it's worth, everything else looks pretty clean. It's straight yellow in Pittsburgh, so not terribly concerned there. Green for the Yankees, green for the Cubs, but yeah, no Kansas City, no Cleveland. Crossed them off the list. How does that change things? Doesn't really change things a ton, I don't think, as far as the slate. We weren't really rostering those pitchers. Witt, of course, Kansas City, of course, always in play. J-Ram on the other side as well. But what do you have, Cardi, as far as just the overview as far as what we're looking at on this slate tonight?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that game makes much of a difference. Like, you weren't really into Singer and Allen. You weren't really into Guardians and Royals stacks. It was kind of just one of those games that was there. Overview, though, I mean, is pitching falls off very quickly. So it's possible you get a really weird pitcher in a winning lineup just because, like, there's not a lot of good ones on this slate. In terms of offense, it's kind of one of those slates where there isn't like a clear best team that people are going to be loading up on. So it's going to be, like half the slate, more than half the slate. Honestly, it's one of those slates where you could really stack almost any team. And I think you can make a plus EV lineup tonight.
We'll talk about that later on, Cardi, as we rank our favorite stacks. Of course, we start with pitchers, Derek. I'm really curious where you have Skenes at, because historically you tend to be a little bit tougher. You and the bat tend to be a little bit tougher on rookies. He, of course, has been electric in a small sample so far this year. He's leading the slate as far as Ks, 35.7% strikeouts, 16.4% swinging strike rate. Awesome amount of ground balls. The walks him in check, just 6%. It's just 22 innings, but as advertised, he's looked spectacular. But of course, he's taking on a tough team in the Dodgers. The next highest K guy is Dylan Cease. Cross Brady Singer off the list, and there's Logan Gilbert. Not a lot of elite K guys beyond that. That's basically the end of the list, like we're sort of talking about. It falls off pretty quickly. So, yeah, Cardi, how do you see pitching, and how much are you prioritizing Skenes? And I'm curious where we have as far as ownership, because he's one of those guys I think people like to play. He's just like a fun person to play, but it's also not fun to pick on the Dodgers. I'm curious where that lands.
Yeah. On a slate where we have a lot of pitching, I'd probably be less interested in Skenes. But on a slate where pitching's kind of gross, where his upside is always like the highest of anybody ever, and in a tough matchup against the Dodgers that might keep his ownership down, I kind of like Skenes today in tournaments. The top pitcher on the slate's Dylan Cease. You're going to play him in cash. He'll pick up the most ownership in pretty much every format. But after him, like, there's not a clear number two. Skenes is right there. And his upside is higher than any of these other guys. So, I kind of like Skenes in tournaments, even against the Dodgers.
You're adding the qualifier in tournaments. Do you think it's bonkers to play Skenes at 8.8 as an SP2 in your cash lineups over Gilbert at 9.2? It's basically the same price.
Yeah, no, actually, I wouldn't say it's bonkers. You could do that if you wanted to. I wouldn't tell you you're wrong.
Yeah, I think you can too. I don't have the bat projections. I can pull them in a second, but the RG projections are very, very similar. Gilbert just ahead by like a point essentially, but again, he's a little bit more. Jump in here. What's your thoughts as far as pitching? I think it's those three kind of lead the conversation: Gilbert, Cease, and Skenes.
Sure, Skenes is by far the greatest pitcher alive, so we got that working for us tonight. I like Cease. Obviously, you gotta it's pretty basic stuff with the Angels. A right-hander is in play against them, no matter who it is, pretty much. And a left-hander, probably, no matter who it is, I usually don't take a left-hander against the Angels. They got some sneaky good power against lefties. So, but Cease is on the board there. Gilbert's fine. The matchup is fine. He hasn't been great lately, but he's still got good stuff. So I like that. And then we go to Skenes. Yeah, I think Skenes might make my team tonight. And I don't even like paying up for pitching. And this is really kind of borderline because his price isn't that much different than Cease and Gilbert, to be honest with you, right? So, but I think he's a guy I do like because, the Dodgers just really aren't – they're very overrated, Dean. I'll say that much. I think their offense is overrated. I think that, they've been shut out like 4 times this year. They do have these spells where they can get in trouble against right-handers. The lineup is very top-heavy. Teoscar started off the season extremely on fire, but, he's kind of regressing to what he is, which is crushes lefties, fair against righties. The other 4 guys in the top of that order are fine. The 6 through 9, that's garbage. So I don't mind picking on the Dodgers here with Skenes because he's pretty much unhittable when he's on anyway. So, those are the 3, Dean. Those stand out, and then we get into the mid-range.
I need to know what you mean by the Dodgers offense is overrated. Like, how would you have them rank compared to other offenses in Major League Baseball?
I think when they signed Shohei, I think everything was like, well, this could be the greatest offense ever. That's kind of like was the baseline for it. Look, they just got him and they got Teoscar, and so the expectations are so high for an offense like that, I just look at the order on most nights at the bottom of the order. You know, like it's not good after Teoscar. 6, 7, 8, 9 are pretty bland, and you would even say that because your projections reflect that. So the bottom of the order is not good.
I don't have a problem with that. And I agree with you.
If you can navigate through the first 4 guys, you know, you can be in pretty good shape against them. So I don't mind that if you're gonna get less ownership on Skenes than just about any other matchup he could be in. Like I'll buy that all day because he's pretty electric.
Yeah, and the Ohtani thing I think is spot on. Like when they signed him, people really did seem to think this was going to be like the best offense ever, and it's not. I still think it's the best offense in baseball, but not by a lot, and certainly not like historically great by any means.
So second best WRC plus on the season. Looks like the second best WOBA collectively, the third best ISO. I understand exactly what Chop is saying too, and I'm on record. You probably heard me say this before. Chop is like, when the Dodgers are playing in September, like Gavin Lux is not on that team getting regular at bats. Chris Taylor is not getting regular at bats. They're going to find somebody. It falls off. Those guys are really, really bad, and they're pretty easily replaceable. Lux just kind of a tragic career because he was on his way, and then he had that terrible injury, and he's just not fully recovered, and he's been pretty terrible ever since. Jason Hayward, a good locker room guy, right? And he's been okay. He's actually been all right when he's out there, but they're going to replace these guys, right, Cardi? They're going to find some new people at some point, I think.
I mean, I would think at the deadline they'll make some moves. I don't know if you'll see them all replaced because even with, a back 4 that's kind of just, average at best, if we're being
average
nice.
Is kind.
Yeah, if we're being nice, it's still the best offense in baseball. So they're going to try to add to it, but I don't think they have to in order to be the best team.
All right. But yeah, it is an interesting thought process, and I'm going to play some Skenes. If I only had a choice of play Skenes or play Dodgers, I'm playing Skenes, and I think that's what you guys are doing as well. That's what it sounds like, at least. You're making one lineup. You can have, the fork is in the road. You got Dodgers or Skenes. We're going Skenes, right? I think that's what we're doing.
I would.
Yeah, I would.
All right. Although I really don't mind. Like I think Dodgers are good tonight because even though Skenes isn't going to be like massively owned, he is going to be owned, and the Dodgers are still the Dodgers, especially if you're stacking the front half of the order. Like they're not going to pick up as much ownership, but they still project really well just because they're the freaking Dodgers. So you really can play both sides of it tonight, just not the same way.
I wouldn't disagree with that because he is a rookie and he can get wild, and and if you do run him up early and then you get to the bullpen, and that's what stacks are made of, man, getting into the bullpen early.
Yeah, I'm trying to think what number lineup I would make. Like if I was making 20 lineups tonight, I would for sure make one like just in case Dodger lineup. If you want to call it leverage, so be it. You want to use that word, and I guess that would kind of work with Skenes being pretty popular tonight. It wouldn't be my second lineup or my third lineup, but maybe my 7th or 8th. I'd say, all right, screw it, let's make a Dodger lineup. We'll talk about stacks soon enough. They're asking in chat about extreme umpire stuff. There is one extreme umpire tonight, extreme hitters umpire for Chris Paddock and Carlos Rodon. All right. Let's kind of work our way down here, Derek, because we do live in the world of a salary cap, and it's hard to double barrel. Or is that, if we're playing cash games tonight, is that what we're doing? We're double barreling. We're playing 2 of those 3 we mentioned. I think so, right?
I think so, yeah, because the problem is, like, even if you go down in salary, like, you're not saving that much money, and you're not, like, it's just a crap slate. So, like, I think you're probably pairing Cease with Gilbert or with Skenes or with Carlos Rodon. I mean, you can go down a little to Jameson Taillon or Braxton Garrett or something like that, but I don't think you save enough money to do that. So I think you probably double barrel it, but Taillon and Garrett are viable. Kenta Maeda is cheap enough where I guess you could do it. Certainly he's in your mix in tournaments. But yeah, pitching is not good today.
How concerned are you about the Wrigley win with Taillon? You mentioned Taillon.
A little. I want to get a little closer to game time and see what the wind is actually looking like. My weather feed conflicts a little bit with Roth's, so I'm curious what he actually says about it, like looking at it manually. My feed kind of has it starting off just blowing across the field and then kind of moving throughout the game, blowing out to left, and then by the end blowing out to center. but only around like 5 miles per hour. So as of right now, I'm not super concerned, but I do want to see what Roth says, and I do want to see what the forecast looks like as we get closer.
Chop, can you make a note? Chop, make a note to ask Roth about the Wrigley wind.
We got a weather off.
Make notes.
We got a weather off here, Dean. A little weather standoff between Roth and Cardi. But the Vegas totals would kind of reflect a little bit what Cardi's saying. Mostly, it would lean towards Cardi's point of view. Like the team total, Taillon's not a great pitcher. They're not a great offense. But if the wind was really legit blowing out like that team total on Chicago or the White Sox would be a little bit higher, I would think. So I don't know. But yeah.
A little respect for Fetty, though. Fetty's been all right this year. Maybe there's a little bit of respect. And as far as the overall total, it probably
team total. Just team total.
Yeah, it's 5.2. Yeah.
On
that's
what
I'm saying.
That's on the Cubs, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. 3.6.
Oh, you're talking about the White Sox. I got you on the other side. Yeah.
Yeah. But Taillon was a guy in that range where, I put a little asterisk by his name to make sure, I didn't forget about him when I build, because he is on the borderline right there of being in the player pool. But yes, like Cardi said, he doesn't save a lot of money. Braxton Garrett was another guy you mentioned that, I don't mind that. Tampa Bay has not been – they've been disappointing on offense this year. He's not bad. How's he? A couple starts here. He's been all right this year. But Jose Barrios is another guy I had marked down, and this is something that can't be quantified in the projections, Dean, right?
Oh, boy.
I'm just kind of like going by like
revenge?
No, like in baseball, it is very difficult to sweep a good team. And Toronto's not great, but they're still a contending team, Dean, right? They're still a contending team. And they're on the verge of getting swept. Well, they're in there. So it's just tough to do that with any team in baseball. A 3-game series, it's tough to sweep them. So I gave them a little bump because I think Toronto pulls off the win tonight, and if they pull off the win, he's probably going to have to pitch okay, and he saves me a little money on Dylan Cease or Logan Gilbert if I wanted to do that. So I had him on there, but spoiler alert, Dean, I also looked at the BVP, didn't like the numbers against him, so I probably won't be playing him now, Dean.
Did you also look at how good Baltimore is?
Like I said, you got a sweep in play here, Dean, and I think that Toronto can avoid the sweep. And yes, I typically on a slate, I see a team playing Baltimore, and I'm scratching off that pitcher. I have a lot of respect for them, but I just think actually, again, the Vegas team total for Baltimore is surprisingly low in my opinion.
So Baltimore, by the way, collectively on the season, highest ISO in all of baseball. WRC plus is third. I don't really buy that narrative that you're throwing out there as far as Barrios is going to find a way not to get swept. I imagine that's not something that's factored into the bat. Cardi, did you hear that take by chance? Do you have a thought on that?
I heard BVP, and then I just walked off and screamed into the corner. So I kind of missed the rest.
So Chop is presenting the idea that Barrios might throw a little bit better today because Toronto desperately needs a win because they don't want to get swept versus the Orioles.
Yeah, so I mean, for me, I'm not really buying that. Yeah, it's tough to sweep good teams, but they already have 2 wins in the bank. It's not like this is the first game and they have to win 3. Like, it's just an isolated event now. It's just one game, and
you can't really define it in any way, but it just does seem like the team that goes up 2-0 a lot of times in baseball, they just kind of relax on that third day. Maybe even their manager even throws out a little bit worse of a lineup. I don't know if that happened tonight. I didn't check the numbers, but I don't know. I just think there's a little bit of extra win equity for Barrios tonight, in my opinion. So let's put it like this, Dean. If I'm looking at starting pitching, yes, I can look at the K rates and all that other, but I also can factor in, man, I think this guy's going to get the win. And if he gets the win, that means he went 5 innings for me and he did okay pitching wise because he left with the lead. And then I get the 4 points for the win. So if I'm getting a win, I'm building up those other stats too. So if I'm going to bet on a team, it just stands to reason I probably like the starting pitcher if the starting pitcher is pretty decent. And I think Toronto makes for a decent bet tonight because I don't think they get swept. So Barrios is in play for me.
I think this is what Cardi was alluding to and we were alluding to as far as the pitchers kind of fall off a table and Barrios is like the fourth or fifth guy we're talking about. He's fine. He's a professional pitcher, but I don't really want to pick on Baltimore. And if you're running a bunch of lineups, sure, but he's not in my pool and I'm only making a few lineups. If you look at the plate IQ, everybody's popping from an ISO perspective with the exception of Adley Rutschman. Not a lot of power versus righties this season, but everybody else. Gunnar, 333 ISO, which is just insane. Awoba close to 400, just amazing. O'Hearn's been awesome. Also kind of unlucky too. Santander, he's got plenty of power. Mountcastle, they're just pretty loaded top to bottom. So I'm more on the Baltimore side than the Barrios side. Cardi, if we don't have salary to double barrel, we can't spend up on Cease and Gilbert and Skenes, two of those three. You mentioned Rodon, Tyon, Braxton Garrett, probably not going to get a full allotment, about 80, 85, maybe 90 pitches at most. He's kind of sort of somewhat interesting. You mentioned Maeda, another guy that they don't really let go very long. He's pretty old. Zach Eflin, in theory, could be good, but I just can't see him throwing more than 75 pitches.
Yeah, he's coming back from injury. He's not going to be very stretched.
Can't play him, right? Got to cross him out.
Yeah, no, there's no ceiling.
That's sort of where I'm at. Any pitcher against Seattle, Cardi, just any pitcher against Seattle, you're gifted 4 strikeouts from the start. That's like your floor. Joey, can I interest you in a Joey Estes?
I don't hate it, but I also don't like it. I don't think Seattle's quite as bad as they've played so far this year, and I don't think Estes is quite as good as he's pitched so far in the majors. But on this slate, I'm not going to tell you not to do it.
I just like the chat's got you going about BBP, and they're at you don't believe in BBP, and Cardi says believing in BBP is like believing in unicorns. You can't, but it's not real. Have you never heard of Christoph Porzingis, Cardi? Some would call him a unicorn. Maybe he'll play tomorrow night. Chop, maybe he's going to be talking about it later on, possibly tomorrow. We'll tease that. Talking a little bit of basketball. Chop, your favorite cheapie on the slate is who? If you have one.
Yeah. Let me see. I saw Maeda getting a little bit of love in some of the content today here on RG. Estes is okay. Yeah, I don't know, man. What do you define as cheap, Dean? What's cheap on this slate? Below
7,
what price
5
tag?
and under on DK, maybe. 8.
Man.
Want to go 8?
I mean, then it would be Braxton Garrett, but again, that's a tough sell because he's still so close to the other guys up top. If you twist my arm, super cheap guy, it probably would be Maeda. No, let me take it back. I don't know, man. It might be Estes. Just throw it out there. Why not? I like if you're just doing chasing. I can't play Paddock. That matchup is just that's bonkers these days, man.
I don't want Paddock.
New York is so good. Suarez doesn't really pitch enough for me to like that one. Soriano can be okay. San Diego really doesn't. They usually put a lineup out there that's pretty good about not striking out, and he got some pretty decent hitters in it. So that's not. I guess it probably would be Estes and just chase a few strikeouts. And Seattle's just. But again, I'm probably going up top with two expensive guys.
I think my answer would be Estes too, but I'm trying the same. Ideally, I want to have 2 of the top 3 pitchers, and I'll kind of mix my bats up a little bit enough to be different in tournaments. Did you have an official answer on that card? I know you threw out a couple names. Your favorite pitcher under 8K or so on DK is who?
Yeah, it's probably Tyon. But all the names we've talked about, I think, are right there. Garrett, Maeda, Estes.
Anybody in chat throwing out any different names? I'm trying to see if we missed somebody, but like we keep talking about, it's a big slate. 18. Well, no, now there's 16 dudes throwing baseballs because we lost the game, but it's really top heavy as far as pitching options. It thins out really quickly. Just didn't want to just kind of fly past this, but it seems like there's really nobody else that's worth talking about. That's kind of sort of where we're at. Just a lot of BBP talk now in chat, which is always. I don't know if you know this, Derek. Maybe this is the first time hearing this. So Chop has a BBP. What do you call it, Chopper? I don't want to speak for you.
It's a suggestion of the day. It's not a play of the day. That's a little bold, but it's just a suggestion based on the
But where do
numbers.
you get that from, though? Where you run it through a model, right?
Yes, I got an algorithm, and it spits me out a list of names on every slate that fit the criteria. And so, sometimes there's nobody, sometimes there's a lot. Today, we do have a BVP suggestion of the day via the algorithm.
What are the requirements out of curiosity? You said there's some requirements in order to qualify. Or is that proprietary?
No, that's proprietary, Dean. You should know better than that. Don't ask that kind of question.
I thought I had a gotcha question. I'm sorry. did not mean to trap. I'm sure you're looking forward to that segment there. If you hit the like button enough, Chop will give you his BVP suggestion of the day. So we're excited about that. I guess Ellie Taylor Cruz is hot now. They keep talking about him in chat. He's got 2 hits. He was the worst hitter in baseball for like a 2-week stretch there, but I guess he's hot again. Hot streaks and cold streaks.
Coors Field does help with that a little bit.
And Rockies pitchers, they're pretty bad too collectively. But yeah, that'll do it for sure. I think that's it as far as pitchers. Unless there's anybody else you guys want to talk about, I really don't have anybody that I think is worth talking about. Chop, you got anything else, or you want to give me the summary as far as pitchers? We do want to spin that wheel and give away a week free of RG Premium. Last chance to get in on that, because we got to make producer Steve's life as easy as possible as we seamlessly segue to our tiers, to stacks. We'll talk about that in a second. But Chop, give me somebody that's tuned in right now. Like, wait a second, they've been on since 4:45. They didn't hit notifications. They don't know when we go live. Give them the summary. They just tuned in. What have they missed out on? Give them like the 1 or 2 minute spiel as far as pitching tonight.
There's 3 guys at the top that stand out: Cease, Gilbert, and Skenes. After that, there's a pretty darn big fall off, and in value and in projection, in talent, and there's not that big of a fall off in price tag. So it probably behoove you to play some of the expensive guys tonight in cash or single entry or anything like that. And then the rest of the guys are definitely stack worthy against. You can definitely stack against them. And so the guys that we're going to stack against and the fades in pitchers we'll talk about in the next segment, Dean.
Anything you want to add to that, Derek? Anything worth noting? Anything Chop missed? Anything you want to stress as far as pitching?
I mean, I kind of like Carlos Rodon tonight, and I think he's going to be, of those like top 4 guys, I think he's kind of going to be the one that's most overlooked. People are going to gravitate more towards Cease, Gilbert, Skenes. But I like Rodon a lot. I guess in all formats, but certainly in tournaments.
Minnesota now has Royce Lewis back. Royce Lewis has homered in every single game he's played this season. Got a couple homers under his belt. Some power there, obviously. I'm just pulling up the lineup.
Didn't Royce Lewis get hurt on opening day? He's homered in every game he's played this season.
Well, he homered opening day, and he homered yesterday.
Yesterday? Yeah, all right. Okay. So maybe
it's
maybe
a little
bit of a misleading headline there, Dean.
It's a fact, but also he's like awesome at baseball. I don't know where you are on Royce Lewis, but I was big on him in season long coming into the season. It was a bummer. Obviously, last year in a small sample, or like a third of the season, if you could extrapolate, I know it doesn't work that way, but his numbers extrapolated over the last 162 are incredible. I'm just a fan of Lewis, and if anything, I just hope he stays healthy. Okay. Do we have time to set up the wheel here, Steve? Are we good to go with the wheel? Do you need a few minutes, or shall we segue to the wheel?
Give me 1 more minute.
All right. You know what I'm going to do is we're going to give away a week free of RG Premium. But if you don't happen to be lucky enough to win yourself a week free of RG Premium, you could just pay for it. That's something you can do. Go ahead and pay for it. NBA, PGA, NHL, MMA, MLB, WNBA, whatever sport you're looking for. You commit to 6 months, you get $250 off the standard price, as opposed if you're going month by month by month. You commit to 6 months, you get $250 off. You want to commit to just 1 month. 1 month, you get $40 off. Check out these links in the description. And you don't like commitment? No worries. 3 days. You get yourself a 3-day commitment, $19.99. And since we have Cardi here, I'm assuming that people know we always reference it, but Cardi, where can people find the bat?
You can find the bat, rotogrinders.com/the-bat. Plugs into Lineup HQ. Get lots of other great stuff with it. I'm biased, but I think it's pretty good.
Do we have any sort of like mid-season deals? Is it like a prorated? How does that work? If I'm late to the party or 2 months in, is Is there anything for that? Or
so yeah, you can do. There's a 3-day pass. There's a monthly pass, and if you get the yearly, it's not just for the season. Like if you buy it, today's June 5th, it'll run through June 5th, 2025, and you'll get locked into the same price this year. You'll get that same price indefinitely, even if / when the price inevitably goes up for new customers.
All righty. Yeah, get yourself the bet. We all use it here. We do well, I shouldn't say we all, but I definitely do. I definitely use it. I like to compare it to RG stuff. Whenever there's an outlier, I like to kind of dig into more, and not just like for projections, but for like pinch hit stuff is something I'm always looking into. I know Blender always talks about using it for sports betting. I know he just likes to use the projections for sports betting. But all right, we got ourselves enough time. We're going to bring in producer Steve. We're going to crank up the music. We're going to spin the wheel and give away a week free of RG Premium. Steve, let's go ahead and give the wheel spin.
WMU dude 24. Congratulations. I will shoot you a message over in the Discord.
All right, sweet. Congratulations to WMU dude 24. Get yourself a week free of RG Premium. All right, Chapa, you weren't rocking out the way you normally. Was that the go-to song? I feel like you weren't into it. Like you normally feel a little bit more. Maybe I caught the.
Yeah, that was a little slow, but it's all right.
We got the Angels lineup, by the way. No Mickey Moniak. If you're expecting him, he was in our projections. Pilar happens to be in there, and of course, this is when the chat tells us that the wheel is rigged. Of course, if you don't win, anyway, even Chop is saying it's rigged. Chop, you think the wheel is rigged? Why are you starting this controversy?
That guy won last week, I think. I think I saw him win last week, man. That's quite the coincidence, Dean. Let's put it like that.
Well, I mean, Jose Barrios, see, he'd find a way to win because he didn't win last week. That's how that works, right? I think if he was on the wheel, because he's lost several weeks in a row. Okay. All right. We're going to go ahead and do our tiers. Chop, do you know what our tiers are? You don't know what they are. Nobody told you what they are just yet.
This will be my first time seeing them today. I was not given this information pre-show.
So we'll ask the chat this as well. We got to ask the chat. We got to ask, well, Derek knows. Cardi helped us out, but the chat will give us some good answers here, I imagine. But let's see. The category is things that matter to Derek Cardi. So the chat's going to tell us what matters to Derek Cardi. We'll reveal the board in a second. Cardi will explain himself. He set the board. But what do you think matters to Derek Cardi, Chop? And I want the chat to tell us as well.
Well, the low-hanging fruit here is going to be numbers and stats and stuff like that. So that's the low-hanging stuff. I'll go a little off the board. I think a nice fine wine is going to be somewhere on that board.
Okay, and you think Cardi is sophisticated like that? He's got a sophisticated palate.
I think Cardi thinks he's sophisticated like that. If that makes sense,
You're saying he's fake sophisticated.
I didn't say it. Dean, you're putting words in my mouth, Dean.
There was a heavy implication.
There was an implication. Barrels is being thrown out in chat. Oh, Domes is being thrown out in chat as well. That's more of a football season thing,
Not
probably.
Football season yet, but yeah, that would be up there.
Vidal Sassoon, according to Derek. You're on the right track, kind of, sort of, somewhat, but not exactly.
Yeah, there are some people on the right track.
There you go. All right. So the chat have some. Yeah, Mr. Richard talking about Mr. Richard on the right track as well. But we should go ahead and have producer Steve reveal the board, and Cardi, feel free to explain your answers. What matters to you?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like they're pretty self-explanatory. Number one is sample size, because if you don't have sample size, you have nothing in this world. It's everything. So some people say, oh, it's love, it's happiness. It's not. It's sample size. So that's number one. Custom shampoo is number two, because you need your hair to just look great. Right below that, important, but not quite as important as sample size or custom shampoo. Any shirt that can be unbuttoned. Anytime you can customize like the sexiness factor, you need to be able to have that optionality. So that's really important. At the bottom, lefty mashers are pretty fake. And at the very bottom, BVP is super fake. So that's the very bottom.
But Cardi, in the bat, there's a whole section designated to lefty mashers.
There is. That's why it's only second to last, because You never know. Maybe eventually there will be one, but right now there's not.
But Chop, are you going to be okay? I don't know if you see it, but BBP is in the last. It's in the dumps. It's it's in the worst possible spot. I don't know if your optimizer is watching this or
Dean,
not, but
this does not hurt my feelings at all, Dean. I'm okay with the process I use, Dean. I'm okay with it.
All right, so we're going to go back and forth. We're going to talk about the games in the slate. There's 8 games. There was 9 games. You lost 1. We have most of the lineups. The slate, of course, starts early. That's why Crunch Time's coming in early tonight. We have Kevin Roth and Dave Potts, as well as SquirrelPatrol, all coming in at around 6 o'clock or so. So we got about 30 minutes to knock this out. Whatever else is going on in the chat. 6:40 game, the premier game on the slate, I would imagine. The Dodgers and the Pirates, Paul Skenes, James Paxton. James Paxton finally got his K rate above his walk rate, so good for him. But it's still really, really small, like 14% as far as the Ks, 12 or 13% as far as the walks. So not enough strikeouts, not enough walks. It's a reason why we didn't talk about Paxton when it comes to pitchers. But Derek, you're going to set the board as far as the Dodgers and the Pirates. Then Chop will confirm or deny. If there's a disagreement, I will jump in and break the tie. But Derek, you set the board. Tell us where the Dodgers are going and where the Pirates are going.
I like them both today. I kind of want to put the Dodgers. I'm going to put the Dodgers in sample size. I think the Dodgers are one of the best stacks today. They project in the bat as like the 5th best raw stack, but everything's pretty close, and their ownership is going to be really low, and you get leverage off of Skenes. It'd be between sample size and custom shampoo for me, but I got them at sample size. I think the Pirates are custom shampoo.
Chop, Cardi coming right out the gate there, put the Dodgers all the way at the top. You said the Dodgers were fraudulent in so many words at the start of the show. Taking on Paul Skenes. You call Paul Skenes the greatest pitcher alive.
Yeah,
so
doesn't mean you can't stay. Nobody goes their whole career, 987 and no losses. 987 wins. You're gonna slip up every once in a while.
Especially if you face Jose Barrios after the Blue Jays lost a couple of years.
You're beating that joke into the ground, and it's not really. It had nothing. You're going overboard, Dean. The people don't even like it anymore. It's over with. Here's what first of all, Dean, I do want to make a point. We lost one of my favorite stacks on the board, which was Cleveland. All right. I really liked Cleveland, and they're off the board. So Pittsburgh is right where I would have them. I'm okay with that. James Paxton is can definitely be had. So I'm putting the Dodgers though. I had them move down to the middle category. Shirts that can be, what is that? Unbuttoned shirts that can be unbuttoned. That's where I had the Dodgers because it's Paul Skenes. I mean, he's likely to go out there for 5 or 6 innings and hold you to like 0 or 1, maybe 2 runs. And is that good for a stack? Probably not. But he's a rookie, so you never know. So I had him right there in the middle.
All right, so I'm going to break the tie. Well, let's have a compromise with the Dodgers and put them in custom shampoo. We'll keep Pittsburgh in custom shampoo as well. Derek, my one thing is I want to pick on Paxton. Eventually, that regression monster's got to be coming.
Oh, it's coming.
I'm sure the ERA for him this season is 2.5 or something silly like that. What is his ERA? I'm trying to pull it up here.
His ERA is really good, and his peripherals and his stuff and everything is really bad.
Yeah, 3.29 ERA, but a 5.7 Sierra. He's got an 85% left on base, 243 BABIP. He's just been really, really lucky. I'm not on board. The only thing is I'm afraid of pinch hit stuff with the Pirates because O'Neill Cruz is on that bench. They're sitting there lefties, and there's lefties that are lurking. That's maybe I'm overthinking it a little bit, right? With I guess Rowdy Tella is also on the bench too, but Rowdy might come in for Connor Joe if necessary, depending on. But I do think Pittsburgh can get to the Dodgers today. Am I overthinking it, Derek? Am I just overthinking that one?
No, I don't think so. I mean, there's that possibility, but I do think there is legit monster blow up risk for Paxton.
All right. Game in the Dome here in Miami. Battle of Florida. Chop, this is for you. Tampa Bay at Miami. Zach Eflin, Braxton Garrett, 2 decent pitchers. Eflin pretty good, but he's just going to be limited by his pitch count. still coming back from injury, and Tampa kind of babies their guys historically, so they're not going to push them too hard. I would not imagine. Who's not in this? No Burger. No Burger in this Miami lineup. Miami lineup is not. I mean, it's never really good, but a little bit weakened with the absence of Jake Burger. Chop, where do you have the Rays and the Marlins?
I have the Rays in the lefty masher category. Putting them down there. I mean, Braxton Garrett is not bad. He is a decent pitcher, and and the Rays, like, offense in general doesn't. It's not like this assortment of great hitters. So I have them down there, and Miami. Yeah, I've got them all the way at the bottom. I've got them all the way in the BVP section. They're just even if you're just going to get a few innings out of Zeppelin, you're like, then you got to face a bullpen, and that I actually dislike taking stacks against bullpen games anyway. So yeah, I got them way down there.
How do we feel, Cardi, as far as Chop's placements?
Totally agree with the Marlins. They might be the worst stack on the slate, so they belong in BVP, heavily buried in BVP. Kind of disagree on Tampa Bay. Like, yeah, Braxton Garrett's a good pitcher, but he's young. He can be erratic. He can definitely blow up. I think the Rays are closer to sample size or custom shampoo than they are to lefty mashers.
Ooh. All right, we'll keep Miami where they're at. I guess we move Tampa up to shirts that can be unbuttoned. Does that work as a compromise?
Yeah, that works.
Right in the middle.
I think the Dodgers had to be moved down too, right?
Yes, we were supposed to the Dodgers down the custom shampoo, so nobody currently in sample size right now. We did just get a Cubs lineup, by the way, which I think is important because the Cubs
Who's leading off?
Probably Tauchman, Suzuki, Bellinger, Morel, Happ, Horner, Bush, Swanson, and Jan Gomes. I think that was as predicted. Trying to see if we
also
missed anybody.
Dean. Also,
Yes,
we got an Oakland lineup.
Okay.
And it is a tad bit different than what was projected. So Seth Brown is not in the lineup tonight, Dean.
Okay.
And I would venture to say that's probably because the manager looked at the BVP and said, "No, sir, you're taking a seat on the bench tonight."
What is the BVP?
Is not good.
How many bets did Seth Brown have against Logan Gilbert? Like 15 or so? I guess they've seen each other a fair bit, but I've not pulled it up. Every once in a while, you'll see that. Like, why did this guy get raised up or knocked down? And I think some managers do acknowledge it. If you watch the broadcast, the Washington announcer, every single hitter will give you the BVP. He loves BVP, the Washington guy. So, he's 1 for 18 according to Bible Blitz there in the chat. So, I guess that's not great. But Logan Gilbert's a pretty good pitcher, but fair enough. I thought Geloff was a good hitter, Cardi. What happened to him? Was he just hot out the gate and just fell off the table?
Dean,
now he's the heat hitter for Oakland.
What did I name the top tier of our board today?
Sample size?
Sample size. What kind of sample size was Zach Geloff good in? It was like 200 at-bats or something stupid. Come on, Zach Geloff wasn't going to be great.
But that's all I had to base him off of. I didn't dig into his little league stuff and his minor league stuff.
He's going to regress a little bit, and he's not going to be that level of good.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't think this guy was a superstar, and, he's got the stink of Oakland on him as well, but he's hitting 8th for Oakland? He's the 8th best hitter in this lineup?
I mean, that's kind of insulting, but he's average at best.
They picked up Miguel Andujar off the street and threw him right in the cleanup spot. Or now he's betting a second tonight. I don't know where he was. Maybe he was in the minor leagues or something like that. He kind of a Yankee castaway. Speaking of Yankee, when is Dominguez going to get called up, or is he kind of blocked right now because the Yankees are just smashing too much? They're waiting for a Stanton injury. It's just not happening. But I know he's smashing baseballs in the minors. Last I saw Dominguez. Okay. Let's see. Where are we at? I think Cardi, you are up now. We're done with Tampa and Miami, Minnesota. And speaking of the Yankees, there you go. Almost a 5 total for Carson the Yankees taking on Chris Paddock. Speaking of players in a small sample who are really good, Cardi, remember Chris Paddock had a window where he was awesome for San Diego?
Chris Paddock's rookie year, I was excited about him.
What happened to him? Injuries, I think, right?
I mean, wasn't as good as we thought. Also injuries, so that's kind of his story. I still think he's an okay pitcher, but he's not great. And the Yankees are the Yankees, so their sample size or custom shampoo for me. I probably put him in sample size.
All right. How about the Twins? Where do you have the Twins against Carlos Rodon?
They're gonna be down the list for me. They're probably like lefty mashers.
Chop, how do we feel about this? Twins and lefty mashers taking on Carlos Rodon. Team total around 3.6 or so. Little better lineup with Royce Lewis these days, and it's a small sample, but Ryan Jeffers has been like one of the best hitters in baseball this year. That's probably going to regress, but just worth noting, I suppose. Chop, where do you have the Twins and the Yankees? Are you in agreement with Cardi?
I do have the Yankees as the top stack. I think. Let me see here.
What category would you put them in, Chop?
Sample size.
Cool. Yeah, top category.
Yeah, I would say that that's the only team I have on the top line today. Like, I've kind of forced them in there, like just to have a team up there. I didn't have a single stack on here that I like so much that I was willing to put in the top spot before the show. But I put them in there, and they just got a good offense, like top to bottom, and Paddock. Yeah, he can be beat for sure. So Minnesota, I did have a line up on the shirts that can be unbuttoned.
I'd be fine with that. I was kind of torn between the two anyway.
I mean, there's not a lot they do good, but they can, with the addition of Royce Lewis back in there, he's a really good hitter. And Rodon, I'm not as like Cardi sounds like he really, really likes him. I kind of think he's a really hit or miss guy a lot these days, post injury. So I think he can be had on the right night, and Minnesota does provide a little bit of power. So it's you're either going to get a great outing out of Rodon most of the time, and he's going to mow him down, or he can get run out of there pretty early, run up his pitch count, and then you got a good stack on your hands. So I just put him in the middle.
I would move them up as well. I just think Rodon gives them a lot of fly balls, and we're arguing about, are these 3 balls going to go over the fence? Are they going to die on the warning track? Is one going to go over? That kind of thing. I could see Minnesota getting from a homer or two, though. So, I'm fine with Rodon. I'm fine with Minnesota. You can tell yourself a story as far as building your lineups. But, Yankees all the way up top, Minnesota in the middle. Chop, you're setting the board next. The next game would be Baltimore. Baltimore taking on Toronto. We have Jose Barrios versus Albert Suarez. Chop, where are we putting Baltimore and the Blue Jays? I believe the streak is still alive, by the way. The Blue Jays, I want to say, have not scored in 26 straight games in the first inning, which is just I don't know if you know the Gutless, Cardi. If you know Kirkwood hanging out in the chat as well.
I'm familiar with the Gutless rankings.
If there's one way to get on the Gutless power rankings, I think it's that. It's just, that is just horrendous. That's really just pathetic. But I'm pretty sure they didn't score in the first inning yesterday. I might have missed it if they did. But I think that streak is still going. Chop, where do you have Baltimore and Toronto?
I've got them both where a producer has them right now, right on the shirts. They can be unbuttoned. I can't move either one of them. I'm not going to move either one of them up any more than that, and I certainly don't like them less than that. So I put them right there in the middle.
Cardi?
That's where I'd put Baltimore. I'd probably move Jays up to custom shampoo, just because they have too much talent to be this bad. Like, they're going to start hitting. When they do, they're going to be at low ownership. And so
what's the honestly, what's the deal with, like, Vlad was an MVP one year.
So how is he possibly this bad now? Like, most likely he's not. He's just off to a cold start.
But it was
a small sample when he won MVP.
No, it wasn't. No, did he win it? He put up the numbers to win it 1 year, but now we're going on like the second year of bad baseball from him. What is he? Is he
kind of a stretch to say what he's been?
By the standard he set, it's bad.
Well, sure, by the standard he set, but he still does have that amazing year in his back pocket, and he hasn't even been that bad this year. I'm looking at his numbers now, like. He's got a 360 WOBA, a 391 xWOBA. His strikeout rate's fine. His walk rate's fine.
What are the ground balls?
Been down, not as much power, but like the underlying stuff is still there. The barrel rate's the same as it's been. This is a guy who's bound to want to start hitting.
So it's 49% ground balls versus righties this season. That's how you don't hit home runs, by hitting ground balls. By the way, not the highest on his team for what it's worth. George Springer, 56% ground balls. You wonder why this team has not hit home runs. Bo Bichette, 44%. Who is the hitting coach for Toronto? Has he learned about launch angles? That guy's got to get fired. I'm not
the
here
hitting
trying
coach. The hitting coach for Toronto is really bad.
Get him out of there.
Yeah. No, I'm being legit. He's really bad. He's ruined a lot of swings over his career.
Is Fred McGriff available or Tom Amansky? I don't know.
You're recycling my old joke, Dean, from a couple weeks ago.
You had a Fred McGriff joke?
I had a Tommy Mansky joke. You remember it. Don't act like you weren't here. You were hosting the damn show. Come on.
I know who Tom Amansky is. It's a deep cut.
By the way, I don't know if Cardi knows this or if we've brought it to his attention before. There's a guy on Yahoo. His name is Derek Carty Baseball or Derek Carty MLB.
Oh, yeah, I know. I'm familiar.
It's an imposter?
That's not me.
Is that you? That's not you?
No, not me.
Oh, man.
The chat wants to know, I don't know, Cardi, if you're prepared for such things. And speaking of stealing jokes, this will be stealing, Kirkwood's bit. Would you happen to have it off the top of your head, Derek? Peter wants to know your top 3 gutless teams. Do you have that by chance?
So I don't presume to be a gutless expert the way that Kirkwood does. So
the gut.
I mean, mine would be very kind of preliminary. I would probably have the Jays on there. They have been very gutless, but I think they're gonna get some guts soon. It's probably like I guess the Braves. I mean, their 2 best players get hurt. Like after Strider gets hurt, Acuna can't be like, all right, I got to tough this out. I got to play through this because we already lost Strider. Like, I feel like that's gutless. So that the Braves are on there for me. And then I don't know who the third one would be. It's oh no, I do know. It's the Mets. The Mets are terrible.
There you go. That's the answer. You probably hear enough up there. You're not too far from.
Shots fired at producer Stevie.
I'm a Mets fan.
He would agree.
I'm allowed to say it.
I'm pretty sure producer Steve would agree. Producer Steve also wants us to move along, apparently, because he's already putting the Cubs on the board. He's a game and a half ahead of us. We knocked out Baltimore and Toronto. We have Toronto in custom shampoo, Baltimore in shirts that can be unbuttoned. I would have that flipped personally, but I'm not going to, you guys have already decided on it. I'm just here as a bystander breaking some ties. Detroit at Texas. I think this is Chops. I apologize. I might have forgot who's batting first. But Chop, do you want to set the board here? Kenta Maeda versus Jose Urena.
Wait a minute. So we're not doing the Cubs game right now?
No, we are. They're next. They're both 8:05, and like on my list, Detroit and Texas are ahead of them.
Okay, Detroit and Texas. All right, I've got Texas in the custom shampoo category. I don't know, man. They're injured. They're not as good of a lineup as they were last year. They're missing some pieces, but they're starting to come around and look a lot better lately. And it kind of coincides with Corey Seager starting to hit a lot of home runs, which always helps. So I can't, Kenta Maeda, he could be okay for limited innings, but he could also get caught red-handed here. So you got that. And then I'm going to put Detroit in the shirts that can be unbuttoned category because Urena's pitched well. I can't believe that he's really a better than average MLB pitcher. I don't think so. But but Detroit's not a good offense. So they kind of just fall, they kind of cancel each other out. So I'm putting them right there in the middle.
I mean, you're not worried about the Urena revenge narrative? I mean, he's going to go out there and deal tonight, isn't he?
Oh man. Did he play? How long did he play for Detroit? I need to know. And how many times has he faced them since then? Because that goes into factoring.
Let me look.
We can't just be willy-nilly with it. Cardi, we got to have all the factors. We don't just look at one stat category.
He played for Detroit the entire 2021 season.
Oh, man. He may then. I may have to adjust some rankings here. I did not know that. I did not get the alert on my phone from RG. They usually have the Narrative Street alert, and I didn't get it. But that could be a factor tonight.
How did he do in his revenge start against the Marlins? Because he was in the Marlins organization for like 5 or 6 years.
Yeah, he was.
And he got blown up. So he's stuck against the Marlins. 2 1/3.
Sometimes it works against you. Sometimes you're overamped and you can't reel it in and you can't dial it in. So it can work against you.
It's almost like it's super easy just to play the results. Once you have the result, you can write your own narrative.
He was too amped. He got lit up. He dealt. He had that revenge narrative. He had the eye of the tiger.
Yeah. Insert cliche here. This is also like his 6th or 7th team or something like that. Played for the Brewers, cup of coffee with the Rockies, the White Sox as well. But all right, Detroit's cheap. That's my best argument for Detroit. And Urania, I'm not totally believing it either. And we still have some cheap pieces on Detroit and like the salary cap stuff. I'm probably not going to go full on Detroit stack. We don't have a lineup just yet, but Colt Keith is cheap. Justin Henry Malloy is supposed to be good. We're still waiting for his first hit, but he's just 2K. Badu is cheap. Green is the one expensive guy, but he's also probably their best hitter. Javi Baez, it's rough. They're still, I think it got him like 3 more years or something. It's a rough contract there for Detroit. But yeah, where would you put Detroit and Texas? Cardi, do you agree with where Chop has them placed?
I agree where Detroit is. I mean, they're not good, but also Urania's not good, and they're cheap. So I think that's the right spot for them. Texas, I would have lower. I'd have them either shirts that can be unbuttoned or in lefty mashers. They're facing a pretty decent pitcher. They're not, like you said, they're not as good as last year. I think they're kind of just fine today, and you're not really getting any sort of ownership or salary discount or anything on them.
All right. Producer Steve has already moved Texas to shirts that can be unbuttoned. We can keep them there. Being told in chat from Butto Jenkins, it's Royce Lewis's birthday. So there you go. The man who's not.
And have you heard Royce Lewis has homered in every game he's played this year? So add to the birthday narrative to that, like just lock button.
Today is the last day I can probably say that. It's probably the last time we can use that. You'll be able to say it
tomorrow because of the birthday narrative. The next day,
if he homers tonight, we definitely can keep it going. And are you a Lewis guy, Carter, in general? Like I don't know, or you think he was kind of overhyped coming into the season?
I mean, I'm very rarely a prospect guy, but I do think in terms of prospects, like he is good. And we saw it a little bit last year, so yeah, I don't hate Lewis, but I'm also not leader of his fan club.
All right, Derek, let's talk about the game in Chicago. White Sox, Cubbies, 9.5 total. Chicago getting the large portion of that, minus 200 favored, 5.5 team total, taking on Eric Fetty. Ty on the bump for the Cubs. Where do we have the Cubs and the White Sox, Cardi?
The White Sox are probably lefty mashers for me. I mean, I don't like the White Sox. I don't like the matchup, but they are cheap. So like I like them more than I like some of the other like bad stacks today. Cubs, we got their lineup, right? Which was about what we expected.
No Pete Crow Armstrong if you're expecting him.
Yeah, I think Cubs are probably custom shampoo for me. I could see them being in shirts that can be unbuttoned. But I kind of like the Cubs today. I think, Fetty's decent. He got better in the KBO. It looks like they're going to pick up some ownership, which I don't love. So I could see pushing them down on a slate where everyone's kind of similar. But they'd be either 4 or 3 for me.
You said Cubs in custom shampoo, and you said I can see them in them. I thought you were going to say, I can see them in sample size. And you went the other way on me. I can see them in the middle. Like, oh, okay.
I mean, I could see them in sample size too, honestly. But I think, the Bats projecting them right now as the highest owned stack, not by a lot. But if they're the highest owned, I don't think you can push them up into sample size. Like they're not.
Jump in here.
Yeah, those 2 spots are where I had both of those teams just like that. Sox, you just never know if the wind is blowing out or, if something does happen and they can, you just never know. So I won't put them all the way down there. And the Cubs, they usually pack a pretty decent lineup. And Fetty's good, definitely been good in his time back, coming back to the majors. But, if there is a little wind going, you just never know. So I'm going to be curious to see where Fetty goes at the trade deadline. There's no way they hold on to him, right? They got to get something for him. So it'd be.
Is it a really short deal? I don't know what his contract situation is.
I mean, he's coming back from I
think it's around 132. Yeah, that makes sense. Supposedly Crochet is on the mark. Well, like San Diego apparently was interested, according to I think Ken Rosenthal. But like, and they're probably going to shut him down anyway if they don't trade him, I imagine, because why would you push this kid in the year it doesn't matter? And he's had a history of injuries too. But yeah, there's whatever good pieces they have, whatever good parts they have, they should sell him off. Was that tricky, Cardi, putting like a projection on Fetty coming from the KBO? And like he's the guy we used to pick on when he was on Washington. So it was he was
There's always uncertainty with guys who just play in completely different contexts like that. And we didn't have any real data on him, no pitch tracking data or anything. So, the bat plugs in the KBO data, it translates it to Major League Baseball, but that's always kind of a rough translation. It liked him a little bit with the translation, and it's liked him more since we've gotten some actual data in the majors, but it still looks like a pretty good spot for the Cubs tonight, I think.
All right. And Chop, did you jump in here as far as your Cubs ranking? I apologize if you didn't. You did.
Boy,
right?
Are you even listening, Dean, when people talk on the show? Or are you just Googling naked pictures of girls?
My notes. I had some things I got to ask Roth when he comes on. I just
said I agree with Cardi and went in a whole spiel about it. Oh, my goodness.
All right. Man. I just wanted to make sure. I'm juggling some plates. I'm juggling plates over here,
You're a juggalo? You're a juggalo?
No, that's Kirkwood. Kirkwood is the old juggalo. Is the ICP. He's a big Violent J guy. All right, Chop. San Diego and the Angels. Jose Soriano taking on Dylan Cease. Dylan Cease, one of the more popular pitchers. Speaking of former White Sox pitchers, one of the more popular pitchers in the slate. Where do you have the alleged gutless Padres versus, and then the Angels, who are, distinctly better versus lefties than they are versus righties? Cease, of course, a righty. Give me the Padres and the Angels, Chop.
The Angels are in that fourth category, lefty mashers. I just against righties, I typically don't want to play them anyway. And Cease is pretty darn good. Like, I don't know, he can have his bad games, but he's pretty good. So I'm gonna put San Diego on that third line, shirts that can be unbuttoned, because their lineup is okay. I mean, obviously has some talent in there. Soriano is hit or miss. Like, on a night, when he goes, like, so you never know. Could be up there. He could shut him down. He has the talent. He has the arm talent to shut down anybody in baseball, I think. It's just, he's volatile. So with that, you take your chances. They're definitely super stackable, and he is also a super good pitcher to play. You just, obviously ain't gonna do it in the same lineup, but I think both things can be true on tonight. One of them can be true tonight.
Crunch time coming in about 5 minutes or so. You got Dave Potts, Cheeseisgood, two-time millionaire winner. We have a millionaire winner, SquirrelPatrol. We got Kevin Roth, the greatest meteorologist in all the world. We have two-time millionaire winner, Head Chopper. We have the creator, the curator, the Bat, and the Blitz, Derek Cardi, myself as well. Cardi, confirm or deny San Diego and the Angels? We good with that, or we want to fight about it?
No, I don't disagree enough to fight. I think San Diego's right. Angels I might have down in BVP, but with the leverage you get against Cease, like, I'm okay having him in lefty mashers.
Last game of the evening starts 2 minutes after San Diego and the Angels here, Cardi. We have Mariners taking on Oakland. Joey Estes, another popular pitcher, and Logan Gilbert. Not a very high total, not a great ballpark to hit baseballs in. Where do you have the Mariners and the Athletics?
I think I have the Athletics in BVP, and I have the Mariners in lefty mashers.
All right, Producer Steve. I don't know if you noticed, but Producer Steve likes to play the home version. He likes to kind of guess, and he's usually pretty good, but he had to move the Mariners down from the middle, shirts that can be unbuttoned, to lefty mashers.
I'm realizing now we kind of missed an opportunity. We could have done the 1 through 5, just the number of buttons that you undone. Like, BVP would be buttoned all the way up to the collar. Sample size would be, all the way down. I feel like that would have been a good board.
We got to save that for premium, I think, Cardi. That's got to be behind the paywall, I'm pretty sure.
That is true. That's maybe a behind
Bad subscribers
after dark kind of thing.
Chop, I know you got the knockers lined up. The knockers, you got the BVP suggestion. I know that stuff is going to be coming out for the people as well. Just as long as we have enough likes. Hit that like button. That's why you got the like button. The people want the knockers for sure. Subscribe, turn on those notifications so you know when we go live. You would have known we went live today at 4:45 because the slate starts earlier at 6:40. Chop, how do I feel about the Mariners and the A's?
Yeah, that's where I had the A's and the Mariners. That's close enough. I had them in the next category up, but I'm totally fine with that one for sure.
You guys agreed way too much. I was hoping for it to be a little bit more combative, but maybe that's a good thing. We're in agreement. We have the Yankees all by themselves, all the way up top in sample size. Custom Shampoo's got 4 teams: Pittsburgh, the Dodgers, Toronto, and the Cubbies. Shirts that can be unbuttoned. It's pretty stacked. Tampa, the Twins, Baltimore, Detroit, Texas, San Diego. Lefty Master says 3 teams. That's the White Sox, the Angels, the Mariners. BBP, it seems like these teams are permanently down here in the dumps. It is the Athletics and the Marlins. Chop, give the people the knockers. Give the people the knockers, and we have the old BBP suggestion of the day.
Yeah, so we'll go a little bit off the board on the knockers today. I'm going to 3-5, and I think there was a question in chat earlier from Aaron Rasmus. I don't know if either one of these guys. I don't know if Ke'Bryan Hayes is third base eligible on FanDuel, but it's 3-5. Connor Joe, Ke'Bryan Hayes is the knockers. So close enough in the order. I can get a little correlation there if that's what you want. Kind of like Pittsburgh. Well, I think we've already talked about that. There's a lot of love for Pittsburgh here as far as stacking them. So those are the 2 guys I'm going to go with against Paxton.
And they're talking about Royce Lewis in chat. He's just $3K. That just seems too cheap if you believe in the talent on FanDuel. $3K just seems way too cheap for me. Crunch time is here. They're ready to come in. Before they do that, though, Cardi, do you happen to have a homer for the people or like a best bet? I know Roth always likes to get a goofy, like off the board, like math-wise. Who's like the 11-1 guy that's paying out like 12 or 13-1? Do you have anything like that for us?
Yeah. So value's not awesome tonight. It's kind of been the case all year with the dead ball and home runs, but Jack Sawinski against Paxton plus 900 at BetMGM looks like probably the best bet on the board.
He's batting 9th. He's one of those guys that I was afraid to get pinch hit for too. I feel like he might only get 2 at bats. If a righty comes in, he might get the hook. That is
possible.
Yeah, that was one of the things. You think they would put him higher in the order? Well, no, actually, it's left on left. So he's probably going to stick around if it's left on left.
Oh, right, yeah. So yeah, the bat's actually only saying 2% pinch hit, so he should be in there tonight.
Yeah, in my head, I was thinking about when he starts against righties, but he's starting against the lefty, and that's pretty smart because then, he'll probably get his at bats rested away, most likely against righties. All right, enough of that. Thank you for correcting me in the chat there, TJ. Crunch time. They are coming in. We got a lot of $1 million winners. We got Dave Potts. We got Squirrel Patrol. We have Kevin Roth. Let's bring Roth in. All right, so I was told to take notes on the previous show. Chop told me to write some things down. Chop, you wanted me to remind you about Chicago Wrigley weather for a Roth-related question?
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah. You were supposed to also remind me to plug the NBA show, and you totally forgot about that. But
no, I have 2. I just
think
I was going to
say before crunch time. Before crunch time gets here, because I don't want to impede on there.
No, your partner's right here on the show.
Okay, so Roth
right here.
Here we go. Roth, got a question for you.
Yeah.
All right. I'm totally confused by this sometimes. Today, for example, looking at your weather edge.
All right, I'm pulling it up right now.
Okay, Cleveland got postponed, but before that, they had great hitting weather according to Weather Edge, and so does Philly right now. At Philly, we look at that; those games, they looked off the charts for hitting. Okay, and then I go to another game, like you have some other games out there where you put the fire emoji on them, but they look far less impactful by your numbers. Why is that?
Are we gonna go through the fire emoji thing again?
Even I know this, Roth.
I don't know.
He didn't put the fire emoji. Fire emoji just says it's hot. That's it.
The fire emoji is the worst choice of my life. I thought it would be cute that if the temperature is over like 85 degrees or whatever,
temperature based.
It's just an icon that says it's hot. There's also a window.
You should put like a sun icon or like something that isn't construed as.
I know it was a poor choice. I chose very, very poorly. There's also a wind icon that shows up if it's really windy. But it just confuses everybody. Everybody just thinks that this is going to be the best hitting weather. They've got the fire emoji, but that is not what it means.
Man, wow. No wonder I keep losing those bets.
Yeah, that's my bad.
No, okay. So you don't have an emoji for something that you really like. Like you need to have one for something that. Okay, Roth looks at it and goes, "This is the game. We need to play this over right here. You need to get you an emoji."
He's giving you more work, basically, Roth. He wants you to go through every single game.
Yeah.
Easy peasy.
I mean, you got to do your own math. You've got your dew point model. You've got something. And Dean, did you know that he was going to ask that and just set him up? Were you aware of this the whole time?
He told me he just said, I have a question for Roth. And he said it was Chicago based. That's all. I didn't know about it being as far as the emoji. I didn't know that much because I would have answered that for him.
You're giving Dean way too much credit.
I thought Dean was just setting you up.
Dean's not even paying attention. Dean's not even paying attention during the show to me.
That's true.
Like
staring at naked ladies.
Yes, there's no way he's trying to set somebody up. But so we're going to get out of here, Dean, pretty soon. But Squirrel is here.
Tell them about the basketball show.
That's what I'm going to say. I do want everybody who's listening right there. We are going to have a special crunch time after MLB lock tomorrow. Me and Squirrel going to do a special NBA crunch time for game 1 of the finals. I'm pretty sure they're going to have a crunch time for each and every game of the finals. So, like, if you want it, guys, and you want to ask some questions, just shoot the breeze about the finals or predictions, whatever. Please get in there so we have enough people watching that they'll keep running it. All right.
You said after MLB lock, I think there's no MLB in the evening, not enough for baseball. I'm pretty sure it's a day slate. Don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure it's day slate. So it's just going to be. I think there's no baseball at night.
It should be a night slate, Dean.
Oh, did I read the schedule wrong? Maybe I'm incorrect. Never mind.
There's seven night games tomorrow.
Is there? Is it split just like today? Basically, there's enough.
There's only 3 early games tomorrow and 7 late. It's kind of an unusual Thursday.
Have you started to write the musings for tomorrow?
No, but I looked at it to see how early I have to get up.
Okay, yeah, I wondered. I figured you're probably on top of it. You're always a day ahead. All right, we got to step aside and get out of here and make way for crunch time. Somebody just homered for Cincinnati. It looks like Steer just hit like a 3-run or 2-run homer to take the lead. 8-7. Coors is coursing in the 9th. Myself and Chop and Cardi do appreciate you watching the first portion. Now it is crunch time. You got 35 minutes with 2 of the best in the business, 3 of the best in the business. We got Roth. Roth, take it away.
Good stuff. As always, welcome to it, ladies and gents. You know the drill. Back at it again. A little crunch time action. 2 of the sharpest minds in the biz. And Cardi, who's still just hanging out. There he goes. All right. Later, Cardi. 2 of the sharpest minds in the biz. We got my guy Squirrel in the house. What up?
Yeah. It is sunny again outside my window right here. So
did it rain? Did it rain?
What is that?
Did it rain?
Oh yeah, no, it was pouring. Yeah, it was a heavy downpour for a while. But they're playing baseball, so
very good. I'm quite thrilled with how the forecast went when we all met recently. I said I have no idea what's going to happen because the games were in the middle of the afternoon and the show was at noon. But the Philly game and the Washington game both look like they are going to work out swimmingly. The Cleveland game has been postponed, which saves us a whole lot of heartache. And then we'll talk about Pittsburgh in a little bit. But all in all, been a pretty good little weather day. I'm quite pleased. Cheese, how are you?
Good. When someone asks you why the fire emoji doesn't mean good hitting weather, the way you feel, that's how I feel when someone asks me what game stack I like.
Yes. It's so frustrating. It's like,
we just need new terms, new emojis.
Why did I do this to myself?
I thought
I was being tougher.
Yeah, it was a good idea, but we know it now.
Yeah, it was a good idea, but it wasn't. It was a terrible idea. Let's talk about the weather real quick. I think the only game of note, really, you've got a few games in Chicago and New York where the rain should hold off until just after those games. So not a concern there. The only game that I think people are going to be interested in is in Pittsburgh, and there's a chance of a delay, but I don't think the chance is high enough that you should fade Skenes. Full Skenes ahead. That's the 4th time I've now used that terrible joke. I think you just play it. I don't know. Cheese. So you just playing your boy.
I mean, I wouldn't fade him because of the weather.
Yeah. Oh, a little teaser, a little hint. Perhaps you're fading him for other reasons.
Well, it's super interesting. It's probably the most interesting little top tier we've had in a while, even though it's small because of, it's Skenes, but he's against the Dodgers. It's a great matchup. I want to watch it for sure.
Okay. All right. Well, so basically bottom line is I think you play him and I think your chance of a delay is maybe 10 to 15%. And that's just like the chance of a delay at any point in the game, not a delay that knocks him out and is early enough to really impact things. So I think you just play him, and that's where I stand on that one. Let's talk about that interesting pitching slate. Cheese, what do you got?
Yeah, so we've got Skenes, and we've got Dylan Cease, and we've got Logan Gilbert. if we can trust the early numbers, which are at least somewhat real, I mean, the guy's amazing. You could argue that Skenes is the best pitcher. We don't know for sure yet if he's better than Cease or not, like as far as strikeouts. My guess is realistically, like for the next couple of years, I think they're essentially in the same tier of like 30% strikeout pitchers. They're both DFS aces. Gilbert is not quite as good of a DFS pitcher, but he's in Oakland against the A's, and he's also very good. So personally, I like Cease and Gilbert better than Skenes. I think the field probably leans slightly that way too. Like I think it's going to be pretty split up between those three, but I do think Cease comes in the highest owned, followed by Gilbert, followed by Skenes, but not to the point where you need to play the ownership game with any of them.
Yeah.
I don't think it's crazy at all if you wanted to say Skenes is your SP1 in any format. But personally, he's just number 3 for me. It's a great number 3, and I'm happy to play him. But I do prefer Cease and Gilbert.
With 3 great options at the top, are you just loading up on those 3 dudes, or is there are you digging in the trash bin a little bit?
Got to dig a little bit in some line because there's really good bats to pay up for too. On FanDuel, you're not really saving that much unless you go all the way down to Joey Estes, which I don't think is a great idea on FanDuel. You're not really saving that much with so Jamison Taillon and Braxton Garrett are the salary savers, but you're only saving like $1,200-$1,400 from Skenes on FanDuel, so I don't love it there. But on DraftKings, I should throw Carlos Rodon in the mix too. He's sort of the SP4, totally playable as well. But Garrett at 7,600, I think is very useful, and he's good too. Like you're not playing him just because he's cheap. Like he's good, and his matchup is pretty good at home against Tampa. So I do like Garrett. I'm okay with Taillon, but I'm just playing Garrett ahead of him personally. And then I do, in fact, have some Joey Estes on DraftKings just to be able to get, an Aaron Judge, Gunnar Henderson kind of lineup. There's just these things you can't do without one of those guys.
Sure.
But I don't. At no point am I going to fade the top 3 based on like ownership or projection or what I think they're going to score. It's just a salary thing.
Yeah.
But that salary comes into play a lot. I would say Garrett is I think I have more Garrett than Skenes.
Oh, okay. Interesting. All right. Squirrel, talk to me about, your most owned pitchers and what your general plan of attack is.
Sure. So I think that, that covers it pretty well. There's only 8 games on the slate now, so it's not like we've got dozens and dozens of pitchers that we need to like sort through into different like buckets. I think, Cease, I think it's like Cease and Skenes are probably the top 2. But yeah, I mean, I think Logan Gilbert is there as well. And I really did think Cheese was going to lead off with Dylan Cease, Paul Skenes, and Joey Estes. Joey Estes has the matchup against the Mariners, who just strike out like crazy against right-handed hitters. I'm probably playing like more Joey Estes than Cheese, or than a lot of people would, because like Estes isn't necessarily anything to write home about. It's just a great matchup that's been consistent all season. Somebody that has been growing on me throughout the day is Carlos Rodon. He's one of those pitchers that everybody's kind of forgotten about. And so people played him as like chalk. This is more like last season, maybe, or even the season before that. And it's like, he kind of consistently disappoints us now that people have forgotten about him. But, he's reasonably priced. I think he's going to be fairly low owned. I'll probably be over the field on Carlos Rodon, just because I think there is upside there against the Twins. But yeah, I don't really have a ton of interest in going way down deep on the board. Like Joey Estes is only 6,400 on DraftKings. Like that's probably going to be the majority of my super cheap risky pitcher allocation.
How much Skenes do you have?
I'm playing Skenes. I'm going to be over this ownership percentage, and I'm going to be playing him in some of the higher dollar contests as well. Just because I think the upside is there, and if I think he's going to be maybe even higher owned this, than 23%. It might be closer to the 30 we've got Logan Gilbert at, and Cease might come down a little bit. But he's got upside, and the matchup against the Dodgers might scare some people.
Okay, and then I see Garrett has basically the rainbow tag, but I feel like you guys talked more about Cease and Estes and Gilbert than Garrett. Maybe I was just tuning things out. Where does Gilbert fit in there? Sorry, where does Garrett fit in there?
I'm playing some Braxton Garrett. I am not one part of the rainbow. I'm the orange little guy on Joey Estes. But yeah, I mean, I think he's fine. I will probably be under this like 20% mark, but probably not like well under it. I think he's in the mid range with like Carlos Rodon. I like Rodon a little bit better though.
Gotcha. Cheese, anything to add on that, or you already addressed it?
Yeah, I have a lot of Garrett. Like I said, I have more Garrett than Skenes, which is to say I have a lot of Garrett.
Yeah. Okay. Very good. Guys, let's talk about the bats and the stacks, flip it around, and discuss where we're going hitting wise. And Squirrel, you can lead us off there.
Sure. So it looks like a warm wind game in Wrigley. And I know it's a night game, but we have weather edge for a reason. And the numbers there are like almost alarming. I think it's like a 50% increase to home runs. So that's something I'm interested in. Everybody's got to get 50% better chance of hitting a home run throughout the game. I think that's something you should be interested in. And I will say that like wind games and stuff like that is one of the rare occasions that actually you can use a game stack.
Right.
Because I think the weather is going to impact either both teams or neither team. Especially, I think a game stack is reasonable. We don't need to go overboard with game stacks in baseball. But I think that's a place you can do it. Other stacks, so I like the Cubs and I like the White Sox, and it is like pretty much weather related, and the fact that neither pitcher is a shutdown pitcher in that game. Outside of that, like Aaron Judge has just been going berserk for about a month now for the Yankees. Like Juan Soto is pretty good too. So I like the Yankees probably like weather independent. They're my favorite stack. But I think with just the quality of hitting with the Yankees, they're one of my favorite stacks, and I'll be playing a ton of like Aaron Judge and some Juan Soto as one-offs. Beyond that, I know they were talking about the Pirates a lot on the show before us. I am actually right there with them. Like the Pirates against Paxton, I think that he's been very kind of woefully inconsistent. Pirates are much better against lefties than righties. And then beyond that, those teams, I think Seattle and Texas, maybe like a little bit under the field on Texas. I think they'll be pretty popular. I'll be playing them, but like not going overboard. San Diego, another team that like might be popular. I'm maybe a little bit down on relative to the field. And I do like the idea of playing some Dodgers stacks against Skenes because that's obviously a good offense. I don't love like full Dodgers stacks because I really just want to play like Mookie Betts and Shohei Ohtani and like maybe some Freddie Freeman and Will Smith sometimes. But yeah, I think you can play some Dodgers stacks and say, well, like what if Skenes, this is his first really bad start. And the Dodgers are the team to take advantage.
Sure. Makes sense. Okay. Cheese, I do want your thoughts on stacks first. The wind in Chicago is blowing the direction that we want, but it's pretty light. It's 5 to 10 miles per hour. Yes, in Wrigley that matters, but I wouldn't get like, super hyped up about it. It's not like it's a 15 to 20 mile per hour wind, but still, like you said, it's Wrigley. We've seen the stats on it. It does matter. And then a question here from the OMG father. What is it called if Chicago plays Chicago in baseball? Like in New York, it's the Subway Series. Do we know?
I've heard it called the Crosstown Classic, but I don't know if that's real or I've just heard that once. I don't refer to it as anything.
That could apply to like any city with two teams. It could be the Crosstown Classic. Okay. And somebody says the Windy City Series. That sounds kind of nice. Maybe it's that Crosstown Cup.
I think we can just make our own name and go with it.
Yeah.
And that will be it from now on.
Yeah, I prefer Windy City Series. I like it. Okay, I was just curious. I only learn about baseball through you guys, so sometimes I have to stop and ask questions. Cheese, what are you doing here stack-wise?
Pretty similar. I think the Cubs would be in play, regardless of weather. I also really like the Yankees. And again, because of the salaries, like that's the reason I'm playing Garrett and Estes, so I can get these guys. Squirrel said Judge has been hot for a month. I would say he's been hot for half a decade at least. He's good. They're all good. It's a scary good lineup. I think we've got good teams like them. I don't want to say overlooked, but there's not going to be a ton of Yankee stacks of those salaries, and kind of the same for Baltimore. Like Baltimore's facing a pretty decent pitcher, but this team is really good. So I want a Baltimore stacks. I also really like Detroit as a cheap stack along with the White Sox. And there you have it.
Okay. I have one more random baseball question, Cheese. I saw somebody say on Twitter they were benching Ohtani in their season long for the matchup against Skenes. Is that crazy? How crazy? On a scale of 1 to 10, is that fully insane?
I mean, yeah. I don't think you should ever bench Ohtani for any reason. Like that's overthinking it. But
yeah, that was my initial instinct. Was like Cheese would not approve of this decision.
Yeah. I mean, if you said you're benching, Teoscar Hernandez, maybe depending on your lineup, but I don't think you bench Ohtani in a season long for any reason.
Okay, that was my instinct. I just wanted to get your read on it. Okay, hey, let's go around the horn position by position. Jacob saying Ohtani is matchup proof. You should only bench Ohtani if he's hurt, basically.
Not even then, really.
Yeah, if he's in there, you play him. It's like benching Patty Mahomes against the number 1 defense in the NFL. Yeah, that's kind of what I figured. Okay, hey, let's go around the horn. Let's talk position by position. Cheese, start us off with the catcher spot, please.
Rutschman's pretty expensive. Like he's a fine play, but like that's not where I'm going out of my way to spend my salary today. I also like, Ryan Jeffers. I like a pretty good bit. I don't love stacking the Twins, and I do like Rodon, but Jeffers is the one guy I want to play against him. But I don't like the position enough to want to spend up. So I'm playing guys like I think Jan Gomes will be fairly popular. I'm playing Grandal, some Austin Wells. That's really all that's standing out outside of stacks.
Squirrel, any other names that stand out to you?
Yeah, Kyle Riley and Will Smith, I think. Big dumper.
Sure. We're all about the big dumper here. Okay, how about first base? What do we got?
Yeah, so I think Shohei Ohtani stands out amongst everybody else, even against, at least on DraftKings where he's first base eligible, even facing Skenes. Beyond him, and he's super expensive, so he's definitely like a low-owned kind of, or lower-ish owned one-off if you're not using him in a Dodger stack. Beyond that, in terms of like value guys, I actually like the White Sox duo, Andrew Vaughn, Gavin Sheets. Hopefully they can get one up into that mild but warm wind in Wrigley Field. Then Vlad Guerrero and Freddie Freeman. Freddie Freeman just generally goes like pretty under-owned. He's probably going to see single-digit ownership tonight because people if they are getting up to that range on DraftKings at least, they want to just play Ohtani. So I think you can play some Freddie Freeman. Okay, great. Cheese, your thoughts at first?
I have an uncomfortable amount of Gavin Sheets and Andrew Vaughn, kind of like Squirrel mentioned. It's not a great position, and it's not like the ideal time to spend up for Ohtani and Freeman. It's not the great matchup for Mountcastle or Vlad, and it's all kind of fine. But I would rather save money at first and spend up elsewhere. So I am playing a lot of Sheets and Vaughn. I like that Michael Busch is in that lineup for the Cubs, so I've got some of him. Nate Lowe is mid-priced and fine. I like Connor Joe a little better in stacks, but he's fine too. Basically, it's not a great position. It's a lot of Gavin Sheets.
Yeah. All right. How about second?
Also not super fantastic. If you have money, I would play Semien. It's kind of like the Rutschman thing at catcher. Like he's probably the best play, but it's not compared to what we're going to see at short and in the outfield. Like I don't feel like you have to play him. Probably Cronenworth is my favorite play for the salary, or Davis Schneider. I think Gleyber Torres is okay. And then I also don't mind just going cheap with whoever here. Like whoever would be like Colt Keith, Lennon Sosa. If Ryan Bliss plays for Seattle, War Eagle, you can punt with that. It's not a great position.
War Eagle, baby. Squirrel, your thoughts at second?
Second base. So yeah, Davis Schneider, Marcus Semien, if you really want to spend up, or Jordan Westberg. Lenyon Sosa or Colt Keith, maybe if you're looking to save money.
Joel in the chat says Ohtani's averaging 4 fantasy points per game in his last 4. You got to bench him for Skenes. And I don't know if he's serious or not.
I'm sorry. This is the one time I wish I was on a show with Cardi.
Yeah, Cardi would lose his damn mind. All right. How about third? What do we got there, Squirrel?
So yeah, I like Christopher Morel. He's still like priced beneath the like really expensive third baseman like Royce Lewis and Manny Machado. But yeah, he's in that Wrigley wind game or warm weather game or whatever it is that's causing weather edge. See if it's
We'll take it.
Boom to home runs. And I believe he hit one yesterday as well. If you do want to spend up, like Royce Lewis, like Dean mentioned, has hit a home run in every single game he's played so far this season. I guess his opening day and yesterday. And then beyond those two guys, I do like a lot of the Pirates, and I haven't been mentioning them that much, but like that'll end what I mentioned to Brian Hayes. And then Jose Miranda, if you want a cheaper twin than Royce Lewis at third base.
Great. Cheese, your thoughts at third?
Pretty similar. I think on DraftKings, I think Chris Morel will be the highest owned player on the whole slate at any position. He's my highest owned player. Just he's so much cheaper than Lewis and a fair amount cheaper than Machado, even Paredes and Westberg. Like he's cheaper than Louis Rengifo. Like it's kind of silly. On FanDuel, you have Royce Lewis at $3K.
It's also his birthday.
Royce Lewis's birthday?
Apparently.
Well, he hits a home run every day anyway, so I don't know what that means. It's 2, I guess. So I think they kind of split up the ownership on FanDuel, but those are my favorite plays. Where I need a full punt, I will play Malloy for Detroit. I'm assuming I know that lineup just came in. Yeah, he's in there. Okay. And that's all that I like.
Okay. How about shortstop?
We lost Bobby Witt, who was my top overall player on the slate, which sadly gives a bunch more ownership to Gunnar Henderson and Corey Seager. Like when you had 3 of those guys, they were going to split it up a little more. Now I think Mookie Betts is the guy who will be just completely overlooked in the tough matchup. So play a little Betts. But for the most part, like if I had 5 lineups, I would probably have 3 Seagers and 2 Hendersons and just be done with it.
Okay.
Sorry. I just want to say Swanson's a pretty good salary saver. And probably, the chalk non-spend up.
Very good. Squirrel, your thoughts at short?
Yeah. So I don't know if Ryan Bliss is shortstop eligible, but yeah, he's not in the Mariners lineup, which I think just came out. But yeah, I think Corey Seager is the top option. He's expensive. You go to Mookie Betts as well. Like the Dodgers are probably gonna have pretty low ownership relative to like what they're capable of, which kind of makes them a good stack. I just like Skenes as well. So don't want to oversell them. Then Anthony Volpe as well with the Yankees. I really do like the Yankees stack. Like the entire top half of the lineup.
Let me pause you before we go into the outfield. Someone had mentioned it in chat. So Zach McKinstry is in the Tigers lineup. I didn't realize he was only 2,100 on DraftKings. I thought that was on FanDuel. 2,100 on DraftKings at second and short makes him like I'm going to redo some lineups where I need some salary and get him in there.
Nice. Okay. Squirrel, by the way, you're really talking me into the Dodgers stack. I feel like this is wise. I feel like they're coming in motivated. Everybody wants to see Skenes, and I feel like the Dodgers might just absolutely rock him. So I'm intrigued. Take me to the outfield.
Sure. So Aaron Judge, like we mentioned, I mean, I said he's been hot like the last 30 days. I've just written up, I think, Aaron Judge every day this week. I don't know if the Yankees played on Monday. Regardless, I probably should have written him up Monday even if they didn't play. He over the last 30 days, he has been the best hitter in the history of baseball, like far out, like pacing. Like Barry Bonds is, 73 home runs.
It's like the Ohtani thing. Don't bench Ohtani even if he's hurt, and play Aaron Judge even if he's off that day.
Even if he's not playing. Yeah.
He'll hit a home run, he'll just show up, play for some team. When I was writing up his thing yesterday, he had a slugging percentage over 1,000 for the past 30 days. Like that's just absurd. Yeah. I don't know what they're doing with those baseballs they send to the Yankees games, but Judge is just murdering them. And right behind Aaron Judge, and literally right in front of him in the lineup is Juan Soto. So they're expensive. They should maybe be. I don't know if DraftKings can do a $7,000 hitter, but yeah, like they should consider it with Judge. And then beyond the Yankees duo, there obviously is still Shohei Ohtani. I like Lewis Robert with the White Sox. Trying to get one up into that the Wrigley Wind, and then Seiya Suzuki also in the same game. Cody Bellinger also in the same game. In terms of value plays, like Oscar Colas is also in the same game. Is only a $2,000 outfielder on DraftKings. Then beyond him, Corey Julks is leading off for the White Sox at 3,400. People not in that game, like Andrew McCutchen, probably should be more expensive on DraftKings. And see anybody else like Adolis Garcia, always capable of a home run.
Okay. Cheese, your thoughts in the outfield?
Love all 4 Yankees outfielders, really, even Verdugo. Adolis Garcia also jumping out at me. All of the Cubs outfielders and Lewis Robert and the cheap White Sox that Squirrel mentioned, like very much in line with all those same guys. I want to make sure I don't just completely forget the Orioles, so trying to throw a little Santander in there. I don't mind Kyle Stowers as a salary saver on DraftKings. And I love Riley Green, as it still just feels weird to see his salary up there with all these other guys, which is why you can still play him because no one else is going to do that.
Yeah. What do we got? About 11 minutes here until lock. We've got some good questions coming in. And of course, the people want some bombs. Cheese, I put you on the spot earlier today, and you came with the French vegan. I can't even think of his name now.
He's just a vegetarian. He drinks milk and everything.
Okay, vegetarian, not vegan. My apologies. So now the people want it again. They want you to run it back. What do you got for me?
Yeah, we'll do. I'll do Kyle Stowers for the cheap. He's not French, but I like him for a home run.
Allowed.
And on the obvious side, we'll go with Corey Seager.
Okay, Squirrel, you got a couple names for me?
Sure. Obvious side, I'll just say Aaron Judge, obviously, because the day ends with Y. Even if he's not playing. And then I will go a couple of the Wrigley Field game guys. I'll go Seiya Suzuki and Paul DeJong finally getting a home run.
Okay, very good. Guys, we've got roughly 10 minutes until lock. Let's dive into some of these QQs. I am starting, as always, in the Discord. And by the way, if you're watching this, make sure you hit us with the thumbs up. It's free content. We want to keep it free. All you got to do is hit the thumbs up. You don't have to pay us $10,000. You just hit the little thumbs up, and that's it. It's that simple.
Squirrel, did you say Paul DeJong finally hits a home run?
He's going to hit
2 in the last. Okay. He's been hitting them, man. It happened.
Let's see. Razzle Dazzle says, Cheese, can I play all 3 Cubbies outfielders in a DK cash lineup?
Sure. Yeah, if you can't get up to, an Aaron Judge or Soto, I think all Cubs is fine.
Okay, greatness with kind of a follow-up. So, Cheese, I'll stick with you here. When stacking the Cubs, do we target right-handed hitters or left-handed hitters?
I think you target the best Cubs hitters and what you need. Like, it's close enough. Fetty is not a huge splits guy. Virtually no splits, honestly. So the answer is no. You target the best hitters or the ones you need position-wise.
Cool. Good answer. Tom says, Squirrel, if you were doing DK cash, who would you pair with Cease pitching?
I would go Paul Skenes.
Yeah. Okay. Right back to you. Another FanDuel cash question. Squirrel, Swanson or Crawford?
FanDuel.
This is actually cash. FanDuel and DK cash for what it's worth. Swanson or Crawford?
I'd go Swanson, even though he's far down in the lineup.
Okay. Let's see. Cheese, back to you from D-Rock. DK GPP question. Kim and Sanchez or McKinstry and Julio Rodriguez?
McKinstry and Julio.
Okay. FanDuel single entry. Cheese, last piece, Gunner or Seager. I'm stacking the Yanks to the Volpe. Thank you.
I mean, Gunner or Seager, that's like the coin toss of all coin tosses. I guess I will go Gunner. Sure, Gunner, but the answer is just a simple yes.
Got a question from Crazy Coop. He says afterlock, but we got some time, so we'll do it now. Squirrel, how are you adjusting your DFS lineups and your overall construction, if at all, to the deadened ball that is being used this year so far? First off, is that a thing? Is there a deadened ball? And second, you've talked a lot about how you are focused more on steals than you were in years past. Not because of that, but because there's been more steals because of the pitcher rules.
Yeah. I think they made the bases larger, so they're easier to get to. Yeah.
Huh.
I'm not really I'm not really adjusting anything for the dead ball. I mean, I'm using projections, and I'm hoping that anything is incorporated into those projections. I don't it doesn't seem like a dead ball to Aaron Judge. So I don't know. And there really have been rumors or, analysis about are there different balls going to different stadiums? Are they using different balls at different times of the year? And people go to the Rowlings production facility and looking at serial numbers and all this stuff. I feel that's things like the dead ball, it's a dead ball. We tend to know more a year later, we got all these foul balls from games, look at them and certain dead balls were going to these parks. I don't think it's necessarily something we can know in advance. And even if we did, I don't know, home runs are still just valuable when they happen, whether there's a lot of them or when there, a few of them.
Sure. Doesn't change a whole lot. Cheese, is that something that you've even given one moment of thought on or no?
I mean, I've given it a moment of thought, but I'm not at all convinced that there's some universal dead ball. And I think people are way overrating anyone's ability to say, let's give this guy some balls that have 8% less carry. No one could do that.
Yeah.
Maybe the ball's dead and maybe it's not. But it doesn't change that the guys who hit the ball harder and more in the air are going to hit home runs more than the guys who hit the ball softly on the ground. So it's the same thing.
Okay. All right. Interesting. What else do we have here? Squirrel. Let's see. Overall slate. Is this you can stack every team kind of slate, or you ended up more concentrating on just a few offenses?
I think it's more of you can stack every team kind of slate. Okay. I'm not going to go crazy with A's, Marlins, Angels. But yeah, I mean, almost just about everything. I'd say 70% of the teams maybe are definitely teams to consider stacking.
Cool. Cheese from Fourscore. DK Cash, Julks, my guy, Julks. I don't know why. I just love him. Or Sheets.
That's a great name. Julks.
It is.
I prefer Sheets. Both are fine. I prefer Sheets.
All right. Blink 182 says Cheese, one bullet in a large field DK tournament. I'm currently stacking the Dodgers. Please make me feel good about this. In doing so, can I use Jose Soriano against the gutless Padres? I will do the first part of that. Feel good about it. I feel good about the Dodgers. You feel good about the Dodgers. Squirrel feels good about the Dodgers. Feel good about it. Of course, remember, I know nothing about baseball.
So the thing to think about, if you're playing the Dodgers, you're already way off the board. You do not have to worry about ownership anymore. So unless for some reason you like Soriano better than the other cheap pitchers, which I personally don't, I wouldn't play him because you don't need more off the boardness once you have a Dodger stack. So personally, I don't have any Soriano. I don't think he's crazy. I mean, it's totally fine. He's not that much different than the other cheap pitchers, but he did not make my list.
Okay, great. FanDuel Cash, Squirrel, I'm coming to you. Morrill or Royce Lewis? These are two guys you both really liked.
Yeah, I would go with Christopher Morrill.
Okay, great. What else do we have here? Lone Wolf says this is a stupid play. Why stack against the number one prospect when there's better options? That's fair. Yeah, that's fair. I think ownership.
Or why pitch against the Dodgers? I mean, you could flip that the other way too.
Yeah. Let's see. Jumping into the YouTube chat, seeing what we've got here. Cheese, your favorite FanDuel GPP pitcher under 9K?
That would be Braxton Garrett.
Okay. Squirrel, DK GPP, Josh Bell, or Sheets?
I'm going to guess Sheets. I'll look it up and make sure that it is indeed Sheets.
Yep. On DK, Squirrel, Verdugo, or Santander?
I'll actually go with Santander.
Okay, great. What else do we got? We're doing pretty good here, question-wise. Sure. If you guys have questions, get them in. In the meantime, this one from CLT Go Blue. Hey, Cheese, how is your NFBC season going so far? Anything noteworthy?
No. Essentially, I barely play season long anymore. Like, I have 2 teams. I still go to Vegas just to hang out, but I really honestly don't play season long anymore.
You're mailing it in. Do you think that you're just too focused in on DFS, or do you think you're just not interested?
I'm just tired. I've been doing it since 1999, and I'm tired. I think 10 years from now, I'll probably be tired of DFS, but season long, I started tiring out a few years ago, and I'm pretty much done.
Yeah. Okay. That's fair. Hey, make sure you're signing up for RotoGrinders Premium. By the way, you got all kinds of sports going on. You can get a 6-month combo subscription, exclusive price $469.99. That has a savings of $250 as opposed to buying 6 individual months of combo premium. You can also get your first month of RG Premium, $40 off for a limited time, and a 3-day pass is just $19.99. Those are some great options, great deals. Highly recommend you check it out. Lone Wolf says this is the best crew at RotoGrinders. Stop. Email our bosses. Let them know. Thanks. Mystery Irrelevant says DK Cash Cheese outfielder 3,300 or less with home run upside. Olivares from Pitt, maybe, but I'm looking for suggestions.
33 or less. Can't quite get Jolks or Sheets there. Hence the question. I kind of like. Well, so I think I would say Leody Taveras, but officially, like, that's the number where I don't really particularly like anyone. So if you can use the salary elsewhere, I'd be fine just going all the way down to Oscar Colas and spending the salary somewhere else.
Okay. Wolf says 3 locks to get over 0.5 hits today. I think earlier he said we need guarantees. We're not even allowed to joke about guarantees or locks. We can actually get in a lot of trouble for it, but we can give you three plays that we think will get over 0.5 hits today. Squirrel, what do you got?
It's not my thing, but I would go like Aaron Judge. Actually, like Noah Judge, but you'd be at a little bit of a risk. And I actually put this in the blur, but a little bit worried about like he was starting to get walked a lot. So you know what? I'll go Juan Soto, Corey Seager, and Gunnar Henderson.
Love it. Okay, good job. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, we have hit the lock. We'll take a couple of these questions real quick. Eric says, Squirrel, White Sox and A's stack. Am I being too cute?
I don't mind the White Sox. I don't love the A's. I don't think the White Sox will be so highly owned. Like they're going to see like higher ownership than they usually do. Like I don't think you need to go all the way to the A's.
Yeah. Okay. DK GPP, Cheese, Judge, and Estes, or Happ and Gilbert?
Do Judge and Estes. Go crazy.
I like it. We got one more question. I think that I missed a few in the Discord. That's my bad, guys. We'll finish up with this one because it's a post-lock question. Is Soriano okay if you're double paying down a pitcher to stack Yankees and O's? If not, who do you suggest in that price range?
I'd go with Estes instead of Jose Soriano. I think there's more upside and more savings.
Okay.
And then but I don't think Soriano is like necessarily crazy. If you're like, I think Seattle's going to stop striking out. Or I'm not going to play anybody from Oakland. Then I think Soriano is like fine. He's a little bit lower projected at a little bit of a higher price, so I'm not really getting to him. But,
okay. Fair enough. And then Cheese, last question here. FanDuel single entry one-off Sheets or Robert or maybe Robert. When you have a decision like this, do you lean matchup, which favors Sheets, or the better player, which is Robert, who is cheap and just a better hitter, although the matchup is not in his favor? Thank you, Kevin Roth. You're welcome.
Better player, Robert.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see. Yeah, there we go. We did it. Padres lineup just dropped for what it's worth. Dean put it in the chat. We are going to get on out of here. So for Squirrel and for Cheese and for our wonderful production crew, always working hard behind the scenes, guys, we appreciate you. We love you. And we will catch you tomorrow. You have been crushed.